So more so, I want to just take what you guys say and use this as fodder to ghostwrite or to write tweets and LinkedIn posts. And also, it's kind of cool to just establish our fundamental values and beliefs with content, because I feel like we have them, but we haven't actually like consolidated or talked about them in one place. So to start at a high level, what attracted you to content marketing in the first place? Like, what brought you into this world, David?
Wow, this is going back. In college, I realized I wanted to get into marketing or like business. And so I just Googled shit about marketing, and I landed on SEO being kind of a key thing to learn about. This is back in like 2013 or 2012 or something. And as I dug into SEO, I was like, wait a minute, SEO is content. Like, why are people talking about these two things differently? And so I was like, I need to become a good writer, or at least learn how to write well. And I think writing was always something I was super interested in. So I felt attracted to it. And then I got a marketing job in an agency where my job was just like churning out content. And so I just learned, oh, this is what business content marketing is. I thought it could be better, but once I got to HubSpot, I was like, okay, this is what a big content machine looks like. Cool. So I think it's just by nature of my interest, it led me there.
Mm-hmm. And Allie, how about you?
Mine was definitely rooted in writing. I went to college for marketing, but I've been a writer since I was, young enough to write. Never knew how they would pair together. When I started freelancing out of college, like I didn't know what SEO was. I just knew like how to write a good piece. At that point, it wasn't as like potent as a thing. That was like 2016, I guess. My stuff was more editorial at the time, but it wasn't until I got to HubSpot that I understood like how much bigger content marketing was than just blogging. And I understood like how my writing played like a larger role in the funnel and larger marketing projects and campaigns and just general like bottom line efforts.
Was there a moment in either of your careers that was kind of an aha moment where, like, I'm sure that content marketing means something different to you today than it did when you started? Was there a moment when you understood content the way you do today as a viable acquisition channel, ROI generating business function? Like, when was there like a shift in your understanding of what content is or could be?
Mine was definitely at HubSpot because I had a bigger picture of what my work was doing in general. As a freelancer, you tend to be siloed just in the like production side. You don't really get the research or the results. So at HubSpot, being part of like the full end-to-end content marketing projects helped me understand like, yeah, my writing can sound good and read well, and it can be some of my best work, but this is how it also impacts like the organization I'm a part of and basically makes me money. That was when I really realized how it was more like just as much marketing as it was content.
Was there also some, you said you were more editorial before that. Was there also some semblance of just seeing how SEO factors in and how like there's more of a structured plan and quantifiable kind of growth plan? Or?
Yeah, I probably swayed toward SEO really strongly at first, which was like over optimizing. Like it became a little bit too formulaic for me in the way my brain works. And since then, I feel like I've established a balance where it's just as much editorial as it is like optimization. But there definitely was a time where I was like, I literally can't just sit down and write something that I care about. Like I can, but if it's going to serve this broader like distribution purpose and these conversion goals, like there needs to be other things injected in the writing process. And that was probably one of the biggest and toughest lessons I learned early on at HubSpot, just because it wasn't how I started my like writing career, but it was a very valuable lesson.
I'll move to David in a second, but I have a question on that because this is related to me personally and my struggles with writing. So I started out not really knowing much about SEO, and we did backlink building at LawnStarter, but it wasn't like super keyword driven content like HubSpot has. And I actually feel like through working at HubSpot and through the tools like Ahrefs and ClearScope, like now when I sit down to write for my personal blog, I feel like I may have lost some semblance of my voice in. But it was replaced by essentially this keyword focus. So I'm trying to shake out of that. And one idea that I have is to just like not look at keywords in general. Another idea is to just like try different tonalities, like to try to do like a very like formal voice, or try to do a very like funny voice or something like that, like focus more on the voice than the keyword itself. But how did you break out of that over optimization mindset?
Honestly, I didn't really at HubSpot. It was a very like key part of the function I served on the team. It wasn't until I started doing kind of that thought leadership project that I realized there were different ways to approach things. Personally, I have since struggled writing for myself. I tend to start writing through through talking. Like I'll record and transcribe some of the things just because I don't even have a chance to look at like, what is the SERP? Like, what are the SERP saying? Or like, what do people care about? Because like, I'm still it's so ingrained in me, but it took me a while at HubSpot. It wasn't until I started dabbling in completely different content types and different purposes that I understood like this is literally one of thousands of ways to approach a piece of content. So.
Yeah, I struggle with the same thing. And that's why I like writing like my personal monthly newsletters, because like it's email. Like there's no point in doing keyword research. It's just literally what am I thinking? And that has broken me out of it, because I think the keyword driven marketing, like to be discovered thing, kind of took away my sense of creativity and maybe instilled more fear of like, this is how it should be done. And like maybe a couple of years ago, it was very trendy to write those blog posts that were super tactical with like the screenshots and captions and image. And I used to write a lot of stuff like that for my blog and like other companies when I was freelancing. And a part of me still feels like everything I write needs to be actionable. I have those sort of images, but really a lot of my thoughts naturally like kind of high level strategic. And I've just gotten more like not having to get as tactical all the time. So in a sense, I'm kind of just like trying to unlearn all what I consider now bad habits from SEO and content marketing to have that more unique voice and like my actual personality, not this like SEO filtered personality.
Yeah.
It's funny. We're all in the same place there. And it's kind of paradoxical, or like there's some conflict, because like, I don't know if you'll agree with me here, but I feel like I believe in SEO as the biggest kind of distribution channel and lever when you're building a business generating ROI generating content program. Like there's pretty much no better way to get predictable results. But then at the same time, it's kind of eroded my ability to think originally. It's like, where's the trade-off there? Like, how do I balance those two things?
Well, and that's what's, I think a lot of people who are either like staff writers, content writers, SEO writers, like people, that's their day in, day out job, is they have to become accustomed to writing about things that they don't know. And what happens is you start to follow this like mental formula that is rooted in SEO research, because you validate this idea. So you're like, someone wants to know about this, and I have to figure out how to educate people to the best of my ability. So then when you kind of turn the page and it's time for you to just write your own stuff, you're like, I know what's in my mind, but like, I don't know where to start, because it doesn't, like David said, it doesn't look like this. It didn't go like this. Like my brainstorm process doesn't resemble what I'm used to. And so it kind of like cuts you off at the knees, like creatively, or at least like creative, like confidence in your creativity, because you just like follow this step-by-step thing, which works, right? Like there's a reason that there's so many freelance projects out there, but I don't know. I think the demand over time will lessen for that kind of content if it hasn't already.
Do you think that we at Omniscient balance that like creativity and SEO driven content well? Like, how do you think we blend those two together? Because I think we do.
For our personal stuff or for our clients?
Both.
I would say clients, it depends on like what they're looking for. I think even still, like with the way that we build strategy, even if they're looking for SEO content, drive organic traffic, all that jazz, like we can still deliver a nice balance between like a validated keyword idea and an interesting piece of content with interviews or original research. For our own personal content, I do think we balance it. At first, like at the beginning of the year, I was all gung-ho on the SEO content, but we talked over time about how that wasn't the best fit for us now. It might be one day, but I would rather take a validated keyword idea and write it through a conversation like this versus looking at what else is already out there and just kind of regurgitating, because that was the process that I was used to. So
yeah,
learning.
well, I think with our clients we do this well too, because like at the end of the day we want to bring them traffic and conversions, and usually we're doing that through keyword driven strategy. But I know in many cases we're going to reach out to internal experts and even external experts to do more of a journalistic style piece where we're actually getting the subject matter insights, as opposed to just rehashing what ClearScope tells us to write or what the other blog posts that are ranking have written about. So is that kind of a way to differentiate or bring some more distinction to a piece, is just like bringing out outside voices in?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to optimizing a piece of content, it really doesn't take much. It has to be good, which is relative, but like I know we all know what not good content is. It has to be like a validated keyword idea, which that's like, I know we've discussed the SEO sandwich thing. Like the first part of it has to be like, you know, you can do your research as it applies to SEO with like Ahrefs and all that stuff. But then the back end of optimization, like not to dumb it down, but you know, there's keywords in play, there's structure in play, a lot of things with like the meta tags and stuff like that. But outside of just having good, interesting content that's relevant to what's ranking, it doesn't have to mirror what's ranking. Like it can still be a different take of like what the searcher is looking for. And that's where I think like SEO content has kind of plateaued, as it's just become literally all the same. But like what's in the middle of that sandwich, like the bulk, like the meat of your post, can be whatever you want it to be, outside sources, as long as it's relevant and good. But that's where people don't like that vagueness and those like those gray zones. So they're like, let's just do like what everyone else does, because at least we'll get up there. So maybe we have a whole other conversation about this later, but I'm on my soapbox now.
Yeah. Well, to further put you on the soapbox, I know you said that we all know what bad content looks like, or not good content looks like. What does not good content look like?
Oh gosh. Most of Google. I would say, and these are all relative adjectives, but like unoriginal, I would say vague. Like
unoriginal, you mean somebody just kind of like, you can copy and paste is not the right term, but they copy and paste and then change the sentence around enough where it's, yeah.
And there's a time and place for a definition, but like most articles don't need that. And in my mind, unless you are a subject matter expert or like a known leader in the space, you probably shouldn't be writing from a place of like, I feel this, or I found this, or I gathered. Like a lot of freelance writers kind of plug themselves in as like the narrator of these articles. And they're the author, but they're not necessarily the narrator. They're just kind of a conduit of other people's knowledge. And I don't think they like do that appropriately. But no, I mean, bad content is what's already out there. I would say it's content that just skims the surface in the name of optimization. I don't know. It just depends on like the topic. It depends on, I don't know. It's hard to decipher it in like a couple words.
Can I ask you both something about this idea of the conduit thing? Because I think
before we move on, I think I have two different ways of looking at bad content. I think when you look at an individual piece, like it's not helpful, it's not entertaining, it doesn't catch any nuance. It's like clearly just a general piece written by someone who doesn't know this. I think if you look at a group of content, if they're all saying the same thing, it's probably all bad content. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing unique.
Literally just to rank.
Yeah, because I've been doing research on my own stuff recently, and like I'll click on one article and I'll be like, okay, cool. There's the first. It's pretty helpful. I move on to the next one. It's literally the same headlines, like same H2 titles. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And I'll go down to the first search results of Google, and I'm like, wait a minute, these are all like literally the same headlines. I'm like, clearly someone's copying someone. Like I'm not going to read the rest, know what they're all going to say.
To just like devil's advocate on that, like there's definitely something to be said about like, and that's where SERP analysis comes into play, like search engine results page, like analysis of what Google's liking that day and what they deem, whether or not we agree with it, what they deem appropriate to answer a query. But where I think people mess up is like they mirror the headers and they literally mirror the whole body. So it's like you can use similar headers if that's what is answering the query. But where people like mess up is they literally deliver the same like line for line, sometimes even word for word. And it's like, I agree with you that Google's content is boring. The algorithm is, in my opinion, a little broken, but if that's the way that I think people need to get their content on page one, they can still do that without just delivering the same BS. That's where like the sandwich kind of thing comes into play.
Here's something I wonder with that, and this may go beyond content marketing to kind of like the ethics of publication. But let's say like it's kind of a chicken and egg problem with the SERP analysis. Let's say HubSpot writes an article about what is A/B testing, right? So then like they've got a high domain rating, so they're probably going to rank for that piece. Even if like they can move outside of like the common ranking signals because they've got such a strong website. Or let's say it's like a new keyword and they establish that talk or like what the topics are about on that. Then other people start to mimic that. And it becomes this feedback loop where every page now starts to write about the same things. But imagine that HubSpot's first article about A/B testing is totally fucking wrong. So now you've got this expectation built in where the intent of the searchers has been trained by Google's algorithm. So then you have to kind of conform to that. So I don't know if that's a question or not, but that it seems to be something that happens with search terms.
Well, no, I mean, you said it right with a chicken and egg thing. Like Google delivers on an intent, but intents can be influenced by what Google delivers. So David, I wasn't saying I disagree with you. I was just saying from a point of like on November 10th, like in order to optimize for organic traffic, like to drive organic traffic, sometimes it does come down to getting ideas from page one because that's what Google's delivering. But Alex, you're right in that like it's kind of this self-fulfilling cycle. And that's why I think either Google needs to fundamentally change like how they rank for quality and accuracy, which I don't know how they would do that. I don't know what happens behind the scenes, or what's going to happen is people are going to start like having different like content sources and other trustworthy avenues where SEO won't be as potent of like a distribution channel. I know we all already do that, but like, I think the normal person who doesn't know how Google works, like they still go to Google for a lot of information, thus like strengthening that cycle.
So would it be fair to say that the big guys, the HubSpots, et cetera, have kind of a privilege in that they can speak outside of like what Google's intent structure maybe shows? And if you're not them, then you probably have to play the game. You probably have to fit into the system because you don't have the audience and the strength to kind of deviate from that.
They definitely have a privilege. I know Google, they've been doing this for 10 plus years. And a lot of the stuff, I think the only reason it ranks is because of like the age and the rating of their domain. I would love to see them run an experiment where they just publish complete and utter bullshit and just see what happens and like over how much it dominoes. I don't know, like, I don't know if they're going to hear this or like whatever, but like, I would love to see like just how potent like all of that is just so powerful. But yeah, I do think they have a privilege and a responsibility. But for the most part, like any low to mid domain rating sites, like it's just a domino effect. You do have to play the game.